Brant DXT grain carts have efficient unload speeds, large carrying capacities, unmatched durability, and reliable components that make sure your cart is working when you are. Lead the field with DXT grain carts from Brant. Visit your local Brant dealer for more information.
Every weekday at 10 a.m. Central, one of the personalities from Real Agriculture appears on RFD TV and Rural Radio 147's Market Day Report to shed light and insight and perspective on what is happening in the world of agriculture. Enjoy.
Well, for the first time in 22 years, Canadian beef will also regain access to the Australian markets. Lindsay Smith with Real Ag Radio joins us now with the latest. Lindsay, a pleasure as always. So from your perspective, how big of a win is the reopening of the Australian market for Canadian beef producers?
Well, I think, it's important to keep this in context. When we think about trade right now, it is, of course, a very difficult topic between some, friendly countries, U.S. and Canada, of course, included. So anytime we've got an open or reopened market, I think it's a good news story. This does, of course, open up further to that. We heard yesterday my colleague Kelvin Hepner talking about our ag minister headed to the Indo-Pacific region. This ties into that bigger, broader plan. But Australia realistically is in a lot of ways a competitor for both Canada and the US for many products. But beef, so chilled and frozen beef going into Australia, this is a win on the side of science, traceability, and really shows that after that BSE finding in 2003, so 22 years ago, we are finally back to an open market between Canada and Australia. And of course, as we heard earlier, between the US and Australia as well.
Yeah, this is a big deal. So really, it just really sends a signal about Canada's credibility when it comes to the food safety and traceability, biosecurity. This is big. And I feel like when you see that kind of relationship over 2 decades now open to Canada, does it open up really to other countries in that region?
Well, potentially. And I think that that's, really what the push is for Canada here as well in seeing this process through. This has been literally years of working through the process that Australia has demanded to prove the food safety aspect, the biosecurity aspects. And so that really does, of course, open up just one more market in that region to see more Canadian products head to places like Australia, but more broadly, the Indo-Pacific region. Now, Canada exported in 2024 $4.9 billion total in beef last year. So that's Canadian dollars, but it is a gigantic part of our agriculture exports. And so seeing new markets like this, definitely a positive for the beef industry. More places for beef to go is always a good thing.
Obviously. And again, that strong foothold, very important for Canada in the Indo-Pacific region. Similar for us here in the U.S., having that Australian market now, I keep hearing it's a symbolic trade agreement because, they have their domestic supplies and their pricing, but something maybe a little bit more unique or specific when it comes to our beef. Is that how Canada sees this as well?
Yeah, similarly. Australia, exactly that. You're right. They have a very strong domestic market, and don't necessarily buy a lot of imported beef. It's a pretty low number. At the same time, there's definitely going to be an opportunity for branding, both U.S. and Canadian beef, and we see that in other markets as well, like the high-value Japanese market, etc. That this may not be a volume play, but it will likely be a value play for sure. There will definitely be demand for branded beef products going into Australia. I
love that. Not volume, but definitely value for sure. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining. It's always great to have you and your team here with us. Lindsay Smith with Real Ag Radio. You want to catch Real Ag Radio? It does air 4:30 p.m. Eastern weekdays on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. Again, their entire team, always great to have their input here on Market Day Report.
Send us your feedback on that bit by sending me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or call the Real Ag feedback line, 855-776-6147.